G'day guys, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another FlightScope Mevo Gen 2 video. Today we're going to be putting the unit through the official JLG Golf chipping test. Now, a couple of caveats before I do this video. I just want to say, FlightScope Mafia, stand down and stand by. Let me do my reviews, let me go through my process of reviewing this device, and ultimately at the end of it, I'm going to give you my opinion of how this device performs in my environment, and also just my thoughts on the device. At the end of the day, all my videos, I'm just giving my advice and my thoughts on this launch monitor. We know that radar is very susceptible to interference in an indoor environment. Nobody can dispute that. Things like how much static you have in your room, things like your projector fans, if you've got heating or cooling and you've got fans running in those. PCs, the fans in PCs cause havoc as well with radar. What type of lighting you have. If you have fluoro lights in your environment, they can cause interference with radar. Exposed concrete, too much metal in your environment. A lot of things can cause interference with radar-based units in an indoor environment. And ultimately, I'm testing this device in my environment. Even how my environment is set up can potentially affect and, interfere with how the radar is going to perform. That being said, I have a very clean environment. My environment, I've set this room up to be extremely clean. I've put Faraday mesh over my projector. Yes, my stance mat is about, I'm gonna say, maybe half an inch, maybe a centimeter and a half taller than my surrounding turf. Like I said though, this is just gonna be my experience with this device in my environment. So, FlightScope Mafia, stand down. What I will say though, is if this device can't perform in this environment, then I'm gonna say good luck to anyone else, because this environment is pretty clean. Okay, settings for the day. We are doing our custom JLG Golf chipping test. I will make it Stimp 13, so it's consistent with all the other official chipping tests I've done. So by the end of this video, I think you're really going to get and understand the limitations of this device, because we're going to be putting it through everything. I'm going to be doing, basic chip shots. I'm going to see how far the unit can actually register shots. We're going to go through bump and runs. We're going to do standard pitch shots, and we're also going to do some flop shots. Before we get started though, let me just share this connector again, because I want to step through some of these settings that I've done, or that I'm going to apply to this connector, because there is a bit more that goes into it with the FlightScope being a radar-based unit that you have to pay attention to. So going back to the general tab, you can see I've got this thing with the tilt and roll perfectly set up. How did I do that? I used the Mevo Gen 2 leveling stand from Claire's Prints. So I'll link this in the description. This is going to be amazing, not only for indoor use, but also outdoor use as well. When you go to the driving range, you're not always going to have perfectly level turf behind you, or you might have, the case where you've got a big, thick range mat behind you and you want to raise it up. This is going to be perfect, a perfect solution for that. So if you're hitting off turf, it's uneven turf outside, put it on this. You've got 3 independent legs that you can adjust, and you can get it sitting perfectly with 12 degrees of tilt and then 0 roll. So definitely check these out. I'll link them in the description. They will be an Amazon link, and you'll be able to buy them both in Australia and also in the US from my links in the description. So just on the leveling stand, you can see I've got it set up perfect. If I go down and adjust one of the legs, by having that stand, it really makes it easy to adjust it on the fly with this tilt and roll, because you can adjust it, say adjust the rear leg, and you will see this tilt number move when you are actually adjusting it. So it does it live on the fly. So really easy to use, and it just makes sure it's set up perfectly and also to the correct height of your hitting mat. I do have enhanced fusion tracking selected. I had this paired up to the FlightScope application before I went into GS Pro to make sure that everything was working, and I made sure there was enough light for the enhanced fusion tracking. You can see these 3 different modes. We've got normal, chipping, and putting, and this is because the unit is going to employ the radar differently depending on what we're actually trying to achieve. So when we're chipping, we're doing shorter chip shots. We're doing shots that aren't really getting airborne that much, that the ball isn't moving, with a big rate of ball speed. And so therefore the radar needs to be configured slightly different with the parameters to pick up on the shot more efficiently and effectively. So At 20 yards, if we jump into the settings now, I'll show you these. So the chipping distance is set to 20 yards. That's by default. So that means if I go further than 20 yards away, the unit will actually kick from chipping to the normal mode. I set it at 30 yards in my previous video and that seemed to work, but I'll just leave it as default for this video. The other things you have, center to tee for normal chipping and putting, I have all set at 7 feet because that's what I have. I've got from my unit to the ball, I've got just over 7 feet. And then ball to screen, I've got at 9 feet. Surface height. So surface height is going to be the difference between your unit and your hitting mat. Because I have mine on my stand from Claire, I don't need to input any, number into this. However, if I had it sitting on the ground, that's where I'd have to put in, half an inch or something to make sure that the unit was actually able to read correctly. Height of driver tee. So I had someone comment in my last video saying the height of the driver tee is actually the unit to your hitting height. It's not. The height of the driver tee is for your driver. As it says there quite clearly, height of driver tee. If you look in the instruction manual, it says that that is going to be the height of your actual tee for your driver. We are using Titleist RCT golf balls today. For these settings, I will toggle a few of these. So we'll ignore the 45-degree spin axis. We'll ignore estimated shots. And then single shot mode. That's how we'll leave it. So we'll set it as that today. And we'll go save and apply. You do also have the camera that you can go to. We are using fusion mode, so it's disabled the camera, but if I wasn't using the enhanced fusion mode and I went into this camera tab, you'd actually get the camera feed from the unit live on your screen. Okay, now that we have that all set up, we are good to go with the official chipping test. Let's go. So the first shots we're hitting today are standard chip shots. I've got RCT golf balls. I'm just going to try and chip it 10 feet in my sim room, and hopefully it should roll out to the flag and get pretty close. Okay, and that's a really good shot. Everything looks great. Spin rates look great. Spin axis looks great. If we're looking at the club speed, ball speed, they look good. Horizontal launch angle looks good. Angle of descent looks pretty good. So yeah, really happy. Let's go again. That was a little bit longer. Okay, that's definitely a misread. So, yeah, that was weird. So that actually took off slightly left and it was a higher shot than the one previous. So I'm not sure what happened there. Yeah, that was very strange for it to read like that, but we'll do another shot. So a little bit of a misread. Okay, that was a really nice shot. And yeah, that read perfectly. So bounced off the flagstick. That looked really good. Spin axis, spin rates look really good. Okay. That was a little bit shorter in my sim room. And yeah, that all checks out. Spin axis looks good. Spin rates look good. All right, let's start going shorter and shorter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry this now about 8 feet in my sim room. Okay, that was 8 feet and it registered. And yep, all the metrics look good. Now, looking at angle of attack, I do think I am steep on these. So 9 looks correct. So potentially the first couple that read at about 3, they might have been misreads. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. All right, again, we're going to go with that little, let's go a little bit shorter. Let's go 7 feet. Okay, that was 8 feet again, and you can see it registered. So it's reading at 8 foot pretty consistently. Let's go a little bit shorter because with radar-based units, one of the limitations is short chip shots, and I'm talking really short ones, like a couple of feet. So let's go 6 feet. Okay, that was about 6 feet, maybe 5 feet, and it didn't register. So there is going to be a cutoff where it's not going to register chip shots. So really short chip shots, it's not going to register. Okay, that was 6 feet. And it registered. So really good to see. That is very hard for radar-based units to pick up on. Now, it did react a bit funny. It went quite far in terms of the total length. Maybe backspin potentially wasn't enough or something, but it ended up going 11 yards when it should have been shorter than the 10-foot carry ones. We'll go again. So that's 5 to 6 feet in my sim room, and it didn't register. We'll go even shorter, and I'm just going to do this just for testing. So I like to go down to a foot carry in my sim room. I'll do 2 feet. Okay, that was about 2.5, 3 feet, and it didn't register. And then I'll just do the standard, 1 foot carry that I do with all the other launch monitors. It'll land on my stance mat. That was actually just off. That was a bit too far, and it didn't register. So it's not going to pick up really short chip shots. Let's see where the cutoff is. All right, so a little bit unorthodox, but I've just measured 6 feet, and I've put my K2 bag there. So we're going to hit a chip shot. We're going to try and land it in line with my K2 Ts, and we'll see if the unit registers it. Okay, that was before it. So that was definitely before 6 feet, and the unit didn't register it. I'd say that landed maybe 5 feet. We'll go again, and we'll try and land it right on that bag, or just to the left of it. Okay, that was pretty much in line with the bag, and it didn't register. We'll go again. Okay, that was just to the left of it, just short, probably like just under 6 feet, and it didn't register it. So we'll try and go a little bit harder. Okay, that was definitely 6 feet, and it didn't register. I'll try do like a 6-foot chip, but I'll like flop it up a little bit. So, okay, that was 8 feet. That was at least 8 feet. It did register it, but it didn't really do what I wanted it to do. So let's just go 7 feet. Standard chip shot, 7 feet. Okay, that was 7 feet, and it registered. So it looks like to me, just in this very rough testing, 6 feet is going to be the cutoff, which is exactly what we see with other radar-based units. So we see this with the Garmin R10, and we've seen this with the MLM2 Pro. 6 feet seems to be the cutoff distance. Can they make this shorter? Can they make it more sensitive? Potentially. However, when you start making a radar more sensitive, it becomes more susceptible to interference. So if they were to change the chipping mode and make it really sensitive so it picks up on, anything that moves, the issue with that is then it's going to get interfered with like by a butterfly flapping its wings. Like it is going to be really, really susceptible to interference. Okay, so we'll just do another chip shot, have it land around 7 feet. That was about 8, and it registered. So we just really had that one obvious misread that took off way right. Okay, and that takes us on to pitch shots. So we're at 30 yards now. The unit should have registered, or the connector should have registered that we've gone to 30 yards, and it should have kicked it from chipping mode into normal mode, which it has. So that's really good to see. So let's just hit some pitch shots, and we'll try and land these about 24 yards, 25 yards, and we'll try and get them close to that pin. Okay, not bad. And look, that looks fantastic. Spin axis looks good. Even the angle of attack looks good. Backspin looks good. Club speed looks good. Yeah, really happy with that shot. That might be a bit long. Sit. Yeah, a little bit long. But again, a beautiful shot. All of the data, all of the metrics look really good there, including spin axis. Yeah, again, everything looks really good. Yeah. Look, so far with these pitch shots, it's felt fantastic. And all of the metrics that I'm looking at, it just looks, yeah, really good. Another really good one. Yep. Cannot fault it from this distance. Yep. Felt exactly like what I'm seeing. I hit that one a little bit heavier, swung a bit harder, and you can see the VLA's kicked up. So yeah, everything checks out. It's really good for these pitch shots. That's going to be long. Yep. We'll send one in a bit lower. So we've had a couple of 30 and 31 VLAs. We'll send this in a bit lower. So this one will be drivey. A little bit long. And yeah, 27.6. So it's, yeah. No issues with these pitch shots. They've all read perfectly for me. Yep. And again, perfect. Okay. We're now on to bump and runs. And this is where, well, the short chip shots, radar base units, we know it's a hardware limitation. They're not going to be able to overcome those really, really short chip shots. Bump and runs, this is another area where radars can potentially struggle. However, you look at the Garmin R10, that thing was seriously good at bump and runs for, you know, what it was. So let's see how the FlightScope goes. We're going to kick these off with 8 iron, then I'm going to go to 6 iron, and then I'm going to go to 4 iron. And if everything's going good, I'm just going to start hitting some 3 wood, and we'll just hit some like Tiger Woods bump and runs. So first up, we have the 8 iron. Yep. And that registered nicely. Everything looks really good there as well in terms of all the metrics. Angle of attack looks good. Spin axis looks good. So yeah. And again, all of the metrics there look really good. And yep, all of that looks good. We'll go again. Spin axis 11. Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. That seems high, but maybe. We'll go again. Yep. And that one's 15 right spin axis. So yeah, possibly there might be, it might be struggling with spin axis, potentially a little bit. These are pretty basic bump and run shots, so I can't imagine they'd have a, you know, massive spin axis. Yeah, that looks pretty good. It has picked up on all of these though, which is good to see. The ball still is getting up about at least a foot to 2 feet in the air, so you would expect it to be picking up on these as well. HLA, that one there, I don't think I pulled it that much, if I'm being completely honest. And there we go. Okay, so 8 iron bump and runs, I'm going to say it definitely passed. It didn't miss a shot. There was a couple of spin axis potentially misreads, but it's so hard to say. Let's go to 6 iron. Realistically, with the spin axis on these shots, it's not going to cause a massive, you know, difference in where the shot actually ends up. So yeah, it's really hard to say, even if it was a misread. Let's go to 6 iron. So these ones are coming out a lot lower now, and that's a really good shot. Now we've got zeros for HLA's come out as 0. Spin axis has come out as 0.0. So potentially was that a misread, or was it actually 0.0? That spin axis is 7.8, right? But again, it's going to have relatively no effect on where the shot ends up. And the spin rates are so low that spin axis will be a bit more erratic on these shots. Yeah, 6.3 down. I don't know. So angle of attack's been saying 6.3 down a couple of times now. And I don't know whether it's just not reading it or it is actually 6.3 down. The good news is it's reading the golf ball. So there we go, 1 down. That seems a bit more realistic. I'm essentially doing a putting stroke with a 6-iron. So I wouldn't imagine it to be 6 down. That's quite steep. Okay, we've had our first no read, which it's not the end of the world. You'll get no reads, and you'd rather a no read than a misread, to be honest. So we'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, not bad. The good news is it's picked up on all of these shots, which is pretty impressive. We'll get into 4-iron in a minute and we'll see if it picks up on those. Yeah. Okay, we've had another no read. And there we go. And the final 6-iron. And yeah, everything seems to be normal. 779 backspin, possibly. All right, let's go to 4-iron. See, with 4-iron, that's where I'd expect to see your 779 backspin. With 6-iron, I don't know, maybe a bit low. Okay, 4-iron bump and runs. So these are hitting just at my screen at the moment. And that one's saying 2000 backspin. So we've gone from 700 with a 6-iron to 2000 with a 4-iron. So potentially it's struggling to get backspin with these shots. So again, see, that looks better. 864 backspin looks better. And that one hit just on my screen. So we'll go a little bit lower. Okay, that hit before my screen. And you can see it didn't pick up. So we'll go again. I'll send it in low. It'll hit just before my screen. And it registered that one. Now, when I say it's hitting before my screen, I do have a ramp. I'll try and show you guys that. So you can probably see I've got a ramp in front of my screen. So when the ball comes up, it'll roll back to me. That starts about 2 feet, maybe a little bit less, in front of my screen. So there is a ramp there. And when I do these shots with the 4-iron, you can send them low and they will hit into that ramp like that. And as you can see, it picked up on the shot. So that's good to see. It's picking up on those really low worm burners. So that's quite impressive for a radar unit. We'll go again and we'll just do a low bump and run. That hit before my screen and it's registered the shot, which is good to see. So it is picking up on those. Okay, quite impressive. Let's do some 3-wood Tiger Woods bump and runs now. This will be interesting. This will be really interesting. Now, what I just thought as well, we are at 20 yards. So what mode of operation is this currently in? Let's open up the connector. It is still in normal mode. So that's interesting. Potentially this is where, you know, someone that's more experienced with the unit might say, oh no, you've got to be in chipping mode within 30. But we're in normal mode. So that's what the connector's set at. Let's do some 3-wood, little bump and runs. Didn't pick up on that. And it didn't pick up on that. We'll do a couple more. And I mean, this is really testing the limits. I don't know if anyone would actually hit this shot in their simulator. Okay, it picked up on a shot. That's fantastic. I don't know how many people are hitting 3-wood bump and runs in their simulator, but if you do want to, then this is going to give you a really good idea of if you can. And it's just struggling with these. I wonder if we go to chipping mode, if it would pick up on these a lot better. Let's just try and kick it into chipping mode. And let's see if that works. Right, we're in chipping mode. Let's see if we can get these 3-wood bump and runs to register a bit better. And yes, there you go. So we've changed the mode of the radar and that seemed to work. Let's hit a few more. Oh, maybe it was just lucky. We'll go again. Unless it's changed back into, if it's changed back into normal mode. It has. Okay, let's go into the settings. Let's change this to 21. And we'll go save and apply. Now, it should. There we go to chipping mode. And this is really where you're going to have to get to know this device. You're going to have to, there we go, it's ready. We're in chipping mode. We'll do our bump and run with a 3-wood. And it registered. So yeah, that's where if you want to, right, I think I figured it out. If you want to do bump and runs with a 3-wood and a Mevo Gen 2, be in chipping mode. We'll go again. Let's see if it wasn't a fluke. It works. That's awesome. And we'll do one more to confirm. And it worked perfectly. That's fantastic. Okay, finally, flop shots. Now we should be, this is where these fuller shots, we're going to be in chipping mode with the connector, but these shots we might actually need to be in normal mode because the ball's going to be going a bit quicker. We'll see. We'll stick with chipping mode and we'll hit some shots and we'll see if they register. This is just going to be normal flop shots. I'm going to try and flop it as close as I can to that flag. So 17 yards. Yeah, really nice shot. You can see VLA there, 39. We'll do another normal shot. Might be long. Sit. Yeah, it's long. We'll go again, another normal shot. And then we'll start ramping things up a bit. Yeah, lovely. Okay, it's registering. Looking at the metrics, that does look good. Let's start ramping it up a bit. Let's start trying to throw it higher and higher. Okay, so 48 VLA, we've gone a bit long. But we're just going to test and see if this unit can pick up really high VLA shots. And look, I think it shouldn't have any problem. Went right underneath that one, 50 VLA. We'll go again, we'll throw it up. 50 VLA again. Okay, we'll see if we can beat 50 VLA, come on. That was higher than 50 VLA, I'm telling you now. That was higher than 50 VLA. I wonder if there's a cutoff with this unit where it just goes 50 VLA. That almost hit my Pro T. I mean, that legitimately hit. That was, trust me, that was more than 50 VLA, I'm telling you. That was more like 58 to almost 60, I'm going to say. Let's really throw this up. Again, that was like mega. So potentially, there is a cutoff. Let's go again. Scared to hit my Pro T. Registered it and 50 VLA. So I wonder if there's a cutoff. That is really interesting. Let's just do a normal shot now. Oh, I shanked it. I almost bladed that. Again, we'll try and, maybe it's the, we've got one more shot. Let's just kick it into normal mode. And I'll try and hit a mega flop above 50 VLA. And we'll see what it does. Because I'm telling you now, those shots were way over 50. Okay, come on. It's 50. I think there might be a limit. I think there is a limit with VLA and the FlightScope Mevo Gen 2. That's just my gut feel. That's just my gut feel. Okay, that was the official Joe Legowski Golf chipping test with the Mevo Gen 2. What did we see? Well, we saw a misread on the short chip shots. One came out way right and was a bit odd. That was a definite misread. Now, was that the unit? Was it the firmware? Potentially. I'm sure this unit's going to get better and better, but we did see a misread. Was it my environment? Was it, you know, potentially interference from something? Again, maybe. Or was it the firmware that needs to be updated? Going to the pitch shots, I was really impressed with the pitch shots. All of those felt fantastic. Bump and runs, we saw a few weird spin axis with bump and runs, and potentially they are legitimate. And with those bump and runs, let's be honest, the spin axis, it's not really going to affect where the shot ends up. You're talking, you know, it's not going to be life or death. However, we do need it to be correct. And I think there was a few misreads there with spin axis. When we went to the 4-iron bump and runs, we did see some spin discrepancies as well. So backspin fluctuated. And we saw it with the 6-iron as well. We had some that were really low around that 700 RPM. We went to 4-iron. We had one that read 2000 RPM. So potentially there was a discrepancy or there was some errors there with the actual backspin numbers as well. And then finally going to the flop shots, I think I need to research this, but to me, just doing that flop shot testing, I think there's a cutoff with vertical launch angle. And I think if this unit detects anything above 50 VLA, it just reports it as 50. I could be wrong. I've only hit, what, 10 flop shots, but doing that testing, I hit some shots that I firmly believe they were higher than 50 VLA. I mean, they're almost hitting my Pro T. So they're going quite high and quite quick. I don't know. I really believe there's a 50 VLA cutoff, but I could be wrong. I'm gonna have to do some research. All right, guys, that was my official Joe Legowski Golf chipping test with the FlightScope Mevo Gen 2. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, let me know. Any comments or questions, leave them down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.